Hey everyone, welcome to a bonus episode of Spin Cycle. And you know it's a bonus because I'm wearing the same shirt. So I'm doing something a little bit different here because I'm looking at albums that I didn't really appreciate at first. In preparation for seeing Metallica for the first time in 17 years, I've been listening to them a lot, and it's really rekindled my love for the band, but included in that is the music on their most recent album, Hardwired to Self-Destruct. If you recall, I wasn't entirely sold on the album at first when I listened to it back in November. While there are still two songs on the album that I'm not a huge fan of, I've definitely warmed to the rest of the album a lot more, and I'm listening to it all the time. Especially songs like Here Comes Revenge and Now That We're Dead, Atlas Rise. But that has me asking, what other albums did I pan at first, only to come to love later on? Taproot's Blue Sky Research. I remember seeing Taproot live at Ozfest 2001 and immediately went out and bought Gift. And then when Welcome came out, I was equally as enthused by their sound. But when Blue Sky Research was released, I wasn't as impressed. The singles were good, but overall the album felt like a letdown, maybe because it was that much different than Gift. A few years later, though, I was driving a lot more to and from work, so I had more time to listen to the music. And in looking for variety, I started revisiting albums I hadn't heard in a while. The first song on this album, I Will Not Fall For You, just blew me away when I started listening to it again, as did songs like Birthday and Lost in the Woods. And I started listening to it over and over because immediately I fell in love with the band again. Deftones' White Pony. I bought White Pony in high school shortly after it was released because my friends were raving about it. I had heard Change in the House of Flies on the radio and just loved it, but that was about all I wanted the album for. Now remember, this is early in the MP3 days and long before streaming. So I really only listened to one or two songs on the album because I didn't want much else. But then about a year or two later, one of my friends was really digging Passenger, and thus so did I. And that prompted me to revisit the album, and from then on, I could not stop listening to it. Songs like Knife Party and Elite, Teenager, Digital Bath. To this day, White Pony is my favorite Deftones album, and they have become one of my favorite bands because of it. Hatebreed's Perseverance. Here's another band I saw at Ozfest 2001. That second stage was insane. When I saw them, though, I was definitely impressed by their stuff, but I didn't pursue them very quickly, at least until Perseverance was released. It was a little more aggressive than what I was used to at the time, so I didn't listen to it very much at first. But then when I Will Be Heard was featured in the movie Triple X, I figured I would give it another chance. But even then, I still wasn't entirely sold on it. It wasn't until I was really in search of some kind of positivity, some sort of inspiration, that I found this album again. And I actually listened to the lyrics instead of just listening to the music, and when I did that, it changed my perspective in a significant way. We Still Fight alone prompted me to tell Jamie Josta how important this album was when I met him at Ozfest 2004. And from here, Hatebreed has become one of my absolute favorite bands because of this album and because of how much this album meant to me. Clutch, The Elephant Riders. It took me a long time to come around to Clutch, aside from the song Escape from the Prison Planet, because it was featured in the movie Escape from LA. I even saw them live in 2004 and wasn't completely sold on them yet. But after I heard Robot Hive Exodus, I was hooked, and to this day I'm still a diehard fan. Now I took a chance on the Elephant Riders because it was on the cheap rack, and I'm a completionist, so I wanted all of Clutch's albums. And honestly, I was originally disappointed. Like, there was a reason it was on clearance. As you have guessed, though, as I was exploring my older and less tested albums, I did find this. This is a superb album that deserves a lot more attention than it gets. Elephant Riders is a great song, but then you've got Wishbone, Muchas Veces, Dragonfly. Oh, and when they played the Soapmakers live last year, I lost my mind. I was so happy. Clutch has a deep catalog, and the Elephant Riders really is an underrated masterstroke. Last one, and probably most surprising, Iron Maiden's Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. Believe it or not, I did not like this album when I first heard it. Now keep in mind, I was late to the party on Iron Maiden. I wasn't originally a fan. But when that started to change, I went back and I got some of their older albums. Seventh Son was different and for good reason for the band, but it didn't land for me at first. I was also skeptical since a lot of reviews I was reading was saying it was good, but not great. Suffice it to say, those reviews were wrong, and so was I. I'm humble enough to admit that. I might be the most humble. In this case, it was seeing them live, and it was during their Made in England tour, so they definitely were playing a lot of songs from Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. So I started listening to the album a little bit more in preparation for the show. It started as just getting ready for the concert, but then this album became an obsession. Songs like Moonchild, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, The Clairvoyant, The Evil That Men Do, those are top-tier Maiden songs. And to this day, I struggle not to put this album in my top 5 favorites from this band. But how do you even pick a top 5 from this band? This one certainly deserves consideration because it is a superb album, and it took me way too long to realize that. Now here's a fair question. Is it just repetition that changed my opinions of these albums? Possibly. Or maybe I had expectations that weren't initially met, only to find that they were actually special on their own. The important thing is that I found something special on each of these albums that I didn't hear the first time. And it sometimes angers me a little bit when I rediscover something that I didn't appreciate at first. Especially in the case of Iron Maiden, I should have listened to the music instead of the critics. Let me know some of the albums that you didn't really like at first but eventually came around to and are now some of your favorite albums. And that does it for this bonus episode of Spin Cycle, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. Hey, you made it to the end of the video. Nice work. Good job. If you like what you saw, you can just go ahead and click that subscribe button for all videos past and future. You can also head over to my website and see all the other stuff that I do, including the books I've written. So go ahead, click stuff.